Everything is A-okay. So Mubin here is one of our patrons. You are Mr. 1000.
And number one, actually. I was the first.
He was the first. So he's been coming to the studio quite a bit, playing a little bit of a new game. A new game that we're hoping to have on the channel eventually, which actually leads us to today's topic, how to make your space effective for painting. You spur this conversation.
I'm working with what I think is just a really small, cluttered space. And I was just looking at opportunities to, maximize this little space that I do have to be actually productive and actually feel like I'm getting stuff done when I'm painting instead of just trying to manage a small clutter on a desk.
When your space is ready for you to do something, you're gonna feel much more inclined to do that thing. So today, top 5 things. 5 things that I hope will help you just be a lot more efficient with your space. These are just my opinions. I don't know if they matter, but they've helped me.
Not everything is going to work for me the way that it works for you, but I'm sure there's something that I might be able to utilize and help improve my space.
First thing first, I am an army painter. I am not a golden demon. My stuff doesn't look individually amazing, but I am able to paint fairly effectively, efficiently, quickly for things that look really good on the tabletop. In order to do as much painting as I do, consider an airbrush. And I know that an airbrush can be fairly daunting as a tool, but like anything, you just need time. The more time you take with something, the better you are gonna get with it. Don't lose patience right off the hop or be discouraged by the effects that you're getting right off the hop. Take your time with it. An airbrush is a very helpful tool. I use Awadas. I've used Awadas forever now. It's something I'm used to. I'm not saying that they're the only one out there, the best out there. Find one that's comfortable for you or in your price range or accessible to you. But for me personally, I really like Awadas. Second thing that's really important for painting is good lighting. I love tonal shifts, tonal variations, right? And sometimes I'm going for like high contrast, and if I did the high contrast in a very low lit setting,
you're not gonna see that blend. It's not gonna come out the way you want it.
Yeah, it's either gonna be like, I turn the light on, I'm like, whoa, what was I thinking? That's really bad. Yeah. Start off with good lighting. I've got this arm here that has a magnifying glass built into a ring light. I don't use the magnifying glass all that often, but I do use the ring light a lot. It's very important to have good lighting, and I personally like to have lighting that's on kind of this arm so that I'm able to adjust it depending on, because I'm always changing my positioning and stuff, and I get a little uncomfortable if I'm in the same spot for too long. I just like to have my lighting kind of go up and down, just depending on how I feel that day. Third thing, and I love how the universe works. I have a sedentary job. I'm often sitting, especially during these times when everything's like online meetings. I'm doing a lot more sitting than I want to. The last thing I want to do when I'm hobbying now is to be sitting all the time.
Yeah.
So I'm like thinking, okay, how am I going to resolve this? And then FlexiSpot, they got into contact with us and said, hey, we would like to sponsor one of your videos. And like, fantastic. All I want is one of your desks. They sent us the FlexiSpot electric height adjustable standing desk, the EG140. Installed it right away and loved it. Like, I love the ability to be sitting and painting, but then just to like kind of crank it up and not be standing and painting. I find when I'm standing, I'm much more attentive.
Yeah, it's, standing is definitely one of those things you start seeing in like a lot of offices and stuff too, where, a lot of people will have a standing desk because while you're standing, you're more focused, you're more attentive. I find a lot of times, especially, I go to work, I come home and I decide, okay, I feel like I'm gonna sit down and paint, but a lot of times I'll sit down and I just don't feel like doing anything now. I'm just tired and be like, you know what, I'm comfy, I don't wanna get up again.
I like sanding. I like sanding to present. I like sanding to game. And now I get to sand and paint, which is fantastic. There is an affiliate link down below if you are so inspired to get a setup similar to this one, because I really like the size of it. This is a 40-inch desk. Works really well for miniature painting, because another thing, getting into the fourth, I said four. The next item that I really like to have is an organizer for my paints. At the studio, we're really blessed. We own a ton of paints.
Yeah,
a
I've
lot.
seen that collection.
Like it's a mountain at this point. And at one point, Vallejo sponsored us and they sent us an entire paint rack.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how excited we were all. All of us were
Yeah.
in getting a paint rack.
Oh, I can only imagine.
However, choice paralysis. If you're looking at 200 paints and you're like, which red do I want to use?
Or, you know, painting your ultramarines, you know, which blue do I actually use, or which blue did I use? That's the other thing too, is sometimes you just get lost in what you previously used.
What I like to do now, because of the plethora of paints that we have, is figure out which model I'm going to paint. I pull out from my collection only those paints, put them in this little plastic container, and that's all I put on my desk. Does it work all the time? No. Every now and then you're like, oh, I wish I want to have this painting, you can go grab it. But for the most part, now that I'm not having to shift away, go find something, I just find the process much more effective. Pre-choose your paints, only have those on in your painting space, and focus.
Definitely one thing I'm going to be adding to my table is just something to organize and just have a handful of paints instead of my desk covered in paints.
And then the fifth and final tip that I have for today is the Vortex Vortex mixer. When we're kind of shaking these on our own, it's really hard to get the right consistency.
Found that with metallics, you know, if you don't mix it right, the metallics just don't show up the way they should on your miniatures.
Yeah, especially metallics, because the pigments are so thick. The Vortex mixer has been a blessing. It ensures I get the right consistency of my paint. And when you get the right consistency, that airbrush is going to sing for you. Because beforehand, to get the proper mix, what you would need to do is, I would anyway, put on my best fist pumping music and just... Those are 5 tips on how to set up a space. Hopefully that helps you.
I think that's definitely going to help. I've got a couple ideas I can take away, and maybe my space will be better now.
Hopefully, because you need to really start painting a lot more, because if we're gonna see this on the channel one day.
Oh, don't worry, that's why I came here.
Okay, so then until we see you next time,
Play
play on.